Hello and welcome to the Steam Chamber. Now, some of you may already very well be familiar with a game that was greenlit recently called Papers, Please. Now, we had selected this game for one of our greenlight roundups a while ago, but between selecting it for the roundup and actually putting the video together, the game ended up taking off massively on YouTube with several big YouTubers covering it, such as Jesse Cox and Total Biscuit. Now, I still wanted to put together, and us at the Steam Chamber still wanted to put together a video on the game because we felt it deserved it. However, we didn't want to just do another little gameplay review or preview, and we didn't feel it was worth mentioning in the highlights roundup, as it was pretty much already greenlit within a couple of days because of the buzz that YouTube built up for the game. So instead, I reached out to the game's designer, Lucas Pope, and asked him a few questions, and he was very gracious to respond to my questions. So I'm going to read those questions out and his subsequent answers, hopefully to give you a bit more information about the game and where Lucas Pope is coming from. So my first question was, the game comes across as a somewhat thinly veiled attack on government response to terrorist threats and the subsequent restriction of freedoms that follow. Is that a fair assessment? Well, probably not actually. It may not be totally clear from the demo, but I'm going for a more even-handed commentary. There isn't a specific statement I have in mind except that immigration inspectors have a tough job. Even though there are times in the game when you're probably violating someone's rights, you're meant to feel that it's for a reason. At least if players can feel that way, then they can get some perspective on how difficult these issues are to solve objectively. So that's quite an interesting response, as it would seem that the scope of the social commentary isn't as grand as it would first appear. Now, we know that you're supposed to sympathise to an extent with your character, the inspector, as you have been thrown into this unwillingly, and you are constantly struggling daily to feed your family and to keep them healthy. However, it's been assumed by many that this game was also taking a very downhearted view at government policy in these regards, and it's quite interesting to see that actually this game is even more about the inspectors than one would automatically assume. I also asked Lucas Pope whether there was any particular moment that inspired the game. He said not really. No, I travel internationally often, but my experiences through immigration have always been rather smooth. I just took notice of some of the things an inspector has to deal with and thought it could make an interesting game. I then went on to ask him what you were hoping to achieve when you set out about making the game. I wanted to put a fun mechanic together with an interesting story. The game tackles some big issues, but my goal has always been to focus on the entertainment aspect first. Now, it's interesting again that he's played down the bigger social issues and implications of the game, and has said that it's primarily an entertainment medium, and when it comes to the social commentary, it is, as we said earlier, rather smaller in scope. Now, this is very interesting because there are a lot of people making very grandiose claims about this game in terms of the social commentary and in terms of how it makes you think about the world in greater detail. So it's nice to see that actually this might have been a happy accident, perhaps, and that Lucas Pope has unwittingly made a game that is so open to interpretation, and is undoubtedly a driving force in its current success and its greenlight success. Moving on. You've made this early build of your game free to download, but are hoping to make it on Steam. Was this a marketing strategy? And how do you plan on getting people to buy the game on Steam once they've played the game for free? This is the first game I've developed openly, and it was mostly an experiment. In the beginning, I wanted feedback from my fellow developers on TigSource. As a marketing tool, it's also helped quite a bit to get the game out there. I'm terrible at actual marketing, and really like the idea that just being open and logging the development process can help spread the word. The current beta includes only the first 8 days of the game, and ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Along with the randomised endless mode, the game's story mode will have around 30 days of content. Hopefully players will feel it's worth their money. Now, that's the thing though. I do believe that when the game does come out, it will most definitely be the money that they're asking for the game. However, will people buy it once they've already tried it? And that is the real question. It's the problem with games that are, I don't want to say gimmicky, but let's go with gimmicky for now. Games that are unique like this, sometimes once people have tried them and sat there for a little session, had a go, then they don't necessarily always go back to them. There will always be people that will, so I'm sure the game will sell no matter what because of the buzz that's around it already. However, I do question whether sometimes giving this much away of the game this early on can be a good or a bad thing, but time will tell with this one. Now, I also asked Mr. Pope about mobile devices. Increasingly, more and more indie devs are turning toward mobile platforms in order to earn money, as it can be a great source of income for small indie devs and requires very little work to port your game over. So I asked him if he'll be attempting to put it onto mobile devices, and if so, how would he get around Apple's policies in regard to serious games and weighty subjects. I'll experiment with an iPad version after the PC Mac release has been shipped. Linux is also something I really want to look at. Phones are a possibility, but the UI will require a drastic overhaul that I'm not sure I can preserve the feel that I want. It's Apple's store, so in my opinion they have the right to run it the way they see fit. I don't think they have an anti-serious games policy per se, just that they want to avoid controversy. If Papers, Please stirs up any unwanted controversy, I can understand if they don't want to offer it on their store. From the beginning I envisioned this as a desktop game, so I'm not too hung up on the mobile version ultimately. Now, the iPad idea is an interesting one, as I do feel that this game would work very well on a tablet device, and it's the sort of game that would sell really, really well as well, as you can just jump into it as and when you need to. And it doesn't take a huge amount of time to sit there and process a couple of people, so you can play. It's the sort of game you could easily play on the go. However, in regard to Apple's recent actions when dealing with games that cover any sort of weighty subject, I could really see this game being a sticking point, as it does feature terrorism and social deprivation, and these things just don't go very well on Apple's store nowadays. They've openly admitted that they censor games, and they won't do it to other mediums. So I do feel that he could run into real problems in that regard. However, as he says himself, he's really not too bothered about the mobile market. So if that's the case, then that's Apple's decision, and you can't really say fairer than that. Whether you like it for its social commentary and its setting, or if you like it for its mechanics, or you just like it because it's a great little escapist game, there's no doubt that Papers, Please is a great game, and there is also no doubt that it will make a definite impression within the indie games market. The game has been greenlit and will probably be fully fledged on Steam very, very soon. Do check out the games page below, and do check out the download of the game if you haven't tried it yet. It is a great little game, and I will leave you now with the last question, which was, what do you hope players will take away from the game? I just hope that they're entertained for a few hours. I think that's fair enough. Thank you for watching, and please do like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let us know if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing. Thank you.